Welcome to the business meeting of the, and I'm gonna read this just so that I don't mess this up, so, okay. I'm not even on. Okay, now I'm on. I'm David Howard, chairperson, and will be presiding over the meeting this evening. In attendance is also Brad Thomas from the City Attorney's Office, serving as counsel for procedural matters, and Emily Kuzi, serving as the clerk of the board. Prior to us doing introductions, I'd like to make sure that we acknowledge that we have in our presence the mayor of this great city. And I would ask her if she wanted to bring a few remarks. Madam Mayor.
I have no remarks. I want to say I am so glad that this body has taken the responsibility that's going to make our city stronger and better always, all the time. Thank you very much.
And also joining us is Mayor Knox from Davison, I think I saw. Well, stand up, man, so we can see you. We can't see you in the back. There he is. Thank you. You want to make any remarks? No. Did I miss any other elected official in the audience?
Mayor Dalton of Mid Hill is also here, Mr. Chair.
Mayor Dalton, oh, there you go, sir. All right, thank you. All right, so why don't we get to the part of introducing ourselves? So why don't we start with you, Julie, on this side with doing introductions, and if you can state your name and the jurisdiction that you belong to.
Sure. Julie Izul, Mecklenburg County.
Oh, I'm supposed to start over there. No, please keep going.
Okay. Jocelyn Jones Nolly, City of Charlotte.
T. Anthony Lindsay, Huntersville.
Lucia Zapata Griffith, City of Charlotte.
Todd Collins, City of Charlotte.
Clayton Seeley, Mecklenburg County.
Cameron Pruitt, City of Charlotte.
Dana Sujanki, Town of Matthews.
Alicia Stedman, Mecklenburg County.
Brad Simmons, Town of Mid Hill.
Dwayne Walker, representing Governor Stein.
Katrina Young, City of Charlotte.
Christy Long, mayoral appointment, City of Charlotte.
Ned Kern, North Carolina Senate appointment.
Frank Emery, City of Charlotte.
Excuse me. David Howard, City of Charlotte.
Brent Cagle, Interim CEO, CATS.
Brad Thomas, City Attorney's Office.
Mike Bryant, Mecklenburg County.
Bevan Corinne Mack, City of Charlotte.
Charles Bowman, City of Charlotte.
Wyatt Dixon, City of Charlotte.
Kenneth Shore, Mecklenburg County.
David Longo, North Carolina House.
Bob Menzel, Town of Cornelius.
Peter Pappas, Foundation of the Carolinas in City of Charlotte.
Jeff Robbins, Town of Pineville.
Justin Harlow, Mecklenburg County.
Emily Kunze, Cat Staff.
So Emily, I already didn't do what you put on the paper, so I apologize. Housekeeping notes for tonight's meeting. Members of the public may access and view the meeting at GovTV / Spectrum Cable on Channel 16, the Charlotte Area Transit System CATS YouTube channel, and the Gov channel on YouTube. There's an additional overflow space across the hall in 266 where this meeting is also being live streamed because we have so many people that want to watch what we're doing. As we proceed, so that we maintain accurate records, I would ask all trustees to please identify yourself by name and jurisdiction before speaking and making motions. Your microphones are at the table. Introductory remarks from me. It's been an interesting month. Actually, it's been 20 days since we had our first meeting. In those 20 days, we also had 2 holidays. So I want to commend Brett and his staff before we even get going for their hard work. The documents that you guys had a chance to review did not come without a lot of hard work. And I want to personally thank my partner in all this, Elizabeth. Thank you, Elizabeth. And I also want to thank Brad for all of his hard work to make sure that we got where we got tonight. Regardless of how we figure all this out tonight, I am proud of the fact that we actually got them done in 20 days with 2 holidays. So with that said, we'll go straight into the meeting. And the first thing we need to do is actually deal with minutes. And the board received the draft of the December meeting summary earlier this week. Can I get a motion to approve the proposed January 18th, 2025 meeting summary?
So move.
It's been moved by, and I'm going to, just so we can be obedient, Ned, would you, sure. Ned moved in and he is with, she wants us to state our name and where we're.
Ned Kern, North Carolina Senate
And it was
Move to
seconded,
approve the minutes.
and I heard it seconded from Charles.
Bailey, I'll second the motion.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, please let me know your vote by everybody saying yes. Yes. Oppose the same sign? Okay, that motion carries. The next action is we move right into the fun stuff. Next, we move on actions. We have 5 items on the calendar. So let me talk about it just a little bit before we get going. So what you see in front of you, what you got in your email last week and what you got today in your packet is a series of documents, one being the rules and procedures, the bylaw drafts of the Code of Ethics, as well as the meeting calendar. And I want to just talk a little bit about that before we actually start motions and discussions. First thing I want you to know is that a lot of what we did was based on getting documents from Go Triangle, which is the Metropolitan Transportation body in the Triangle area. The reason why that made sense, and I put it in the email, but I'll put it on the record, was because they actually, in the same state, follow a lot of the same state statutes that we need to follow. So it was a great starting point. What I can tell you is that over the last couple of weeks, and this was already kind of drafted, but over the last couple of weeks, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out kind of what should go where. And one of the reasons why we have the first document in front of you, which is the rules and procedures, is because the bylaws, as everybody knows by now, takes 75% of all of us, whether we're here or not. So that's actually 21 votes. Trying to make sure that we didn't make the bylaws overburdensome with a lot of stuff. We pulled out a lot of the rules and things that we may need to adjust over the next little bit, the next couple of months, the next year, so that it wouldn't be part of the bylaws and require a 75% vote. So in a lot of ways, and I have Frank right here beside me to hold me honest, you don't want a lot of those details in your bylaws. You want them to be very much about the way you operate, very much about the way that things get done. But when you start getting into how long you meet, when you meet, how long people talk, maybe you don't want all that in your bylaws. So just so you know how this document was crafted. So the next document and the next thing we'll talk about is the bylaws. Again, I spoke to you about that a little bit, and again, we started with Go Triangle. The part in it about the committees, you saw a separate document that I sent to you, like a flow chart that talked about committees. Again, that was research done by the staff. That was research of looking at those cities that you saw in the back of the document and coming up with the best way to start. I'll be honest with everybody around the table, just so we get it out. I actually started thinking we should start with more committees just because there's so many of us. I didn't want big committees. I thought we all needed smaller committees. Kind of talked out of that because of the amount of work that it would put on staff. We kind of talked out of that because, you know, maybe you want to start small and grow. So what you see before you as far as a committee structure has a lot to do with just the basic things that we need to oversee. That being finance, that being operations, and that being actual planning. The next document that you have in front of you is the Code of Ethics, which I believe is a requirement of the PAYVAC. Somebody correct me on that?
That's correct.
So this, amongst other things, are policies that we need to get done before July 1. So this one had a lot to do with just making sure we start out with all these cameras on us with a Code of Ethics to guide how we do things. It's all about kind of making sure that we all stay above board so we stay out of the news. I want to stay out of the news. I don't know about you, but to stay out of the news as much as possible. So that's where the Code of Ethics came from. And then the very last thing, of course, is the meeting calendar. And as you can see, there were 3 meetings added since we sent this out earlier, and that was 3 workshops. Again, those were surveyed by everybody to make sure that they worked, so hopefully they still do. Workshops in our bylaws are kind of different from special meetings, emergency meetings, or regular meetings. They're intended for us just to do information. And those 3 workshops are about us spending time to get to know the plans and the policies and all the things that we're going to be dealing with. So as we start the conversation, what I'd like to do is start with motions on each one of them so we actually can move to discussion. And then we can have all the discussion we'd like to have. I'll have more to say about the bylaws when we get to those, but the first one up is actually the meeting rules and procedures. So can I entertain a motion on that? Yes, Cameron.
Cameron Pruitt, City of Charlotte. I move to approve the rules and procedures as indicated in our packet.
Seconded by Justin. Justin from, thank you. All right, it's been properly moved in second, so now we'll move to discussion, and why don't we work, raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Tell me how we want to do this, because I have a number of questions and concerns about these, and I see that there are some changes from the original document that we received as well, that just on the surface appear to be typographical, but I'm not sure, because I haven't had a chance to go through all.
So you make a really good point. Let me add one more piece, if it's okay, if I can have the floor back real quick. So because this was so complicated, we were still getting feedback up to yesterday, and I know you just got it Friday, so I understand that part. But we're still getting feedback, and we were trying to make sure the stylistic and grammatic and those things that made sense, we did. And we're prepared now to take them one at a time to talk about where we are on them. And you're right, there are changes that came out today that includes all the comments we got. And Elizabeth is prepared to join me on, we're going to be able to pull it up. Can we go on and pull up the rules and procedures? So that if you have a question, you can see exactly where it is right now. So give me 1 second for her to, it's going to take more than a second. Okay, let's keep going then. We're going to get it up on the screen. Yes, sir.
So, there were a couple of items that were.
Can you pull one of the microphones closer to you?
I'm sorry. All right. First of all, this is T. Anthony Lindsay from Huntersville.
Excuse me, the board secretary is on her job. You need to say your name and where you're from.
That's why I just did that.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Again, T. Anthony Lindsay from Huntersville. One of the first items that I had questions about was under rule number 2 in the special, under special meetings, and we talked about the chair and the board or 9 or more board members. And I was curious about the 9 versus 11, which would be 75% of a quorum. Were we trying to get to 66%? Is that what we were trying to do with that 9?
It was a third.
Okay.
Try not to make it burdensome to be half so that we can actually call a meeting. If 9 people think we need a meeting, we probably need a meeting. So that's where that came from.
Okay.
It's not a big threshold, but one.
All right, cool. I was just curious, trying to get clarification. And then in item number 3, under that same rule, we talked about that only those items of business that are specified in the notice may be discussed or transacted. Is this because of the special meetings rule that does not allow us to amend the agenda?
I'm going to let Brad answer that question.
That we have item number A there, where all members are present.
But let's deal with that one, Brad. That's because of the open meeting law, right?
That's right. That's the special meeting rule, is that a meeting under that statute, you are required to state the purpose of the special meeting, and you need to stick to that purpose for that meeting. So that's why that language is there.
I mean, tonight is a special meeting.
Right, got it.
Because we don't have regular meetings counted yet.
Okay. On item number 4, we mentioned we have an exclusion for public comment during special meeting agendas. And I was curious as to what the rationale was for why we would not permit public comment during special meeting. Is that also by rule?
No, it's just the fact that if we call a special meeting, we probably have something we need to deal with. And because we are allowing public comment at every other regular meeting, it was just, if we call a special meeting, we probably, now if there are issues on the table that we're considering, we probably can't take public comment on those.
We can't.
But it wouldn't be just in general, anything anybody wants to talk about.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question, because I know that workshops are considered special meetings, and we have some workshops coming up, and we could take public comment at that. This seemed to be definitive that said we could not do it. So I just want to be clear about whether or not we would be in violation of this if we did take public comment.
On anything that's not on the agenda, yes. By our own rules.
Right, I'm specifically asking now about the public comment piece. If we did take public comments during a workshop, for example, even if it was on the agenda, this does not say that we could do that.
If we have a special meeting and we have public comment on the agenda, we can do that.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, just want to be clear on that piece.
You guys be patient. I want to get us through as much of this as
Yep,
we can.
I'm trying to go through this. I apologize. On rule number 5, which is, was on page number 2. So we do state that there are board member absences that each board member is expected to attend. My question is whether or not there should be a limit on the number of meeting absences each year that a board member could miss.
This is a really good time to address something. So throughout the bylaws and these documents, you do see documents like accounting policies and other policies that have not been done yet, that some have to be done by July 1. But yes, that is the next thing. Elizabeth has a list of policies like attendance policies that we need to tackle next that would be brought back to this body. But if we waited to get all those policies done before we bought these, we would never get going.
That's fine with me. I can accept that, no issue.
Got it.
And on the agenda, as far as agenda preparation is concerned, I had another question with respect to whether or not the agenda should be approved at the beginning of each meeting, therefore allowing the addition or modification to agenda items. Would we be allowed to do that under these provisions, under Rule 6?
Again, we followed Go Triangle, and City Council, County Commission don't do it, so we just didn't. We were following kind of what the local precedent was, but that is a stylistic decision of this body.
So I would like for that to be a consideration for us to decide whether or not we would like to be able to. And as long as this doesn't prevent us from doing that, then hopefully we would be open to, if there were changes needed at the agenda, on the agenda when we got to a meeting.
The only note I'll make, and I ask Brad to back me up, Anthony, is that you also can amend the agenda.
Yep.
So, I mean, that you can also amend the agenda with the same number of votes, so.
I agree. That's why that's what I was asking for, is
Okay.
the ability to do that, and as long as we agree that that's permitted under this rule, I'm fine.
What else you got?
All right. And I'm trying to get through here. So.
Hoping we're gonna answer some of your questions. That's why we're taking our time, all right?
Yep. So I had a real strong concern about number 4, which is it is on page 3, where we have this 2 days. Appears that we can have a meeting called and receive documents in preparation for a meeting 2 days prior to the scheduled board meeting. That's a big concern for me. I think we should have our meeting materials, or strive to have our meeting materials at least a week before the board meetings. And for us to put this into a document that says we can do that, I know that's the statutory minimum requirement. I just think it's impractical for us to operate with 2 days worth of notice.
So one of the reasons why it says at least is because of that, for me. I think they didn't want to tie the hands of staff if we have stuff come up at the last minute like we just did. But it's not my intent ever. I mean, I wanted a 5-day minimum on everything. But I mean, I think because of the law, it was, let's leave the law in there and we can set our own standards about the way at least I will as chair. And I can tell you mine is 5 to 7. We just could not do that this time. But I mean, you tell me how you want to do that. This is statutorily, so everybody in the future, body of trustees has the flexibility and not have to come to change this every time. But it's completely up to this body. I mean, I wanted 5, so. But that's where they at least came from, because I agreed with you.
Well, tell me how you would prefer we proceed with this. Do we want to make motions on each individual item, or do we want to wait and take motions after a completion of comments? Because otherwise, you guys will be here all night with me.
No, well, the reason why I'm okay with you doing is because hopefully you're answering other people, because that came up in probably 6 or 7 people. So, I mean, we answered, that gives me a chance to answer that question. I would prefer, I mean, you can make a motion anytime, but I prefer to get through it, and then we can decide what we want to do as a body.
Yes.
Because, I mean, a lot of this feeds on each other.
I agree. Okay.
All right, keep going.
All right. And rule number 10, action by the board. Says that, I believe the statute permits us to take action, permits a majority of a quorum to take action, except unless it requires a 3/4 vote. And this says a minimum of 14 affirmative votes, which is inconsistent with the statute. So we need,
Wait a minute, let's let Brad.
Yep.
Brad, what you got on that?
I'm sorry, could you restate the question? I couldn't.
So this action by the board, rule number 10, says that a minimum of 14 affirmative votes is required for board action. Statute says that a majority of the quorum can take action. So if there were only 14 members present, then 8 members could take action.
That's right. And
So
so
this
this
inconsistent
is
with-
purely, right, this is purely a preference. And so if this board wanted to have a lower amount, it could just be a majority of the quorum. I think there are some that look at that too and may have concerns that a small number, such as 8, of a board of 27 could decide a really significant issue. And so this is a matter of preference, but that's right. You could just make it a majority of the quorum.
And Anthony, I'll tell you, all of us that dealt with these talked about that a lot. Christy was on a call about it last week, and it was just kind of hard to figure out if that's 9, so it's 2/3 of 14, or trying to figure that out. I mean, it's kind of a preference. I think 14 to 14 is a high number, because that's what you'd have to do to pass anything if only 14 people show up. But it's kind of this argument, how low do you want that number to go when you have 27 people? Well, he has the floor.
So my only issue is this is inconsistent with the statute. That's my only issue. And the statute says that we can make our own rules and bylaws, provided it's not inconsistent with the statute.
You're talking about the PAVE Act.
PAVE Act.
Yeah.
It's
Brad,
very
you wanna-
clear about the authority that the board has to take action. So that's my only issue, is that are we passing something now that is inconsistent with the act? I get that we want to make our choices, and some things I think we have latitude to do. I'm just asking the question now to be sure that we are not, in fact, doing something that is inconsistent with the statute. So that's
To
why I
answer the question
brought it
about
up.
being inconsistent with the PAVE Act.
Yeah, I don't believe that this is inconsistent with the PAVE Act. I think this is a preference for this board to decide. So I think if you choose to do a majority of a quorum, that is perfectly acceptable. If you choose to do a higher number, that's also acceptable.
I think somebody told me, and Mayor, I don't want to put you on the spot, that even city council has a minimum of 6, even if 6 doesn't show up. So, I mean, even if it's a lower number, they still require 6 to move anything, regardless if 3 or 4 people are not there or they have recusals. So just so you know.
Again, I don't have a preference one way or the other. My only preference is to be consistent with the statute and ensure that we don't.
So I have hands over here, but he has the floor. And out of respect, let's keep going. And as we get to you,
I will wrap up here.
Just so we don't jump around.
I will wrap up very quickly.
please.
I apologize again. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. That's not a big deal.
Okay, I was gonna keep going. Okay, I'll do it that way. Okay.
I want to go back, I want to circle back to one.
Thank you, Christy.
So, in Rule 21, looks like this is page 8, I believe it is, of 11 of our previous document. There's a statement in here that gives the authority for requests for public meeting hearings on any matter should be appropriate, should be approved by the appropriate board committee. And I was just asking a question about that. What reason would we give the decision on whether or not a public hearing is held to a committee?
I don't know where you are, what page?
I'm sorry, Rule 21, I believe it's page 8.
Top of page 9.
Page 9 of 11.
Yeah.
Bottom of page 8.
Says by the board.
I'm assuming that there was some rationale for that. Just want to make sure.
The committee or it does not permit committee consideration by the CEO. This doesn't read to me that a committee can decide. I guess what am I reading? Did somebody else?
It seemed unusual to me, but again.
Some public hearings are required by law. Oh, it's on the screen. Some are required by law. Elizabeth, do you see what he's talking about? If you want to highlight it. A request for public hearing on any matter shall be approved by the appropriate board committee. Is that public hearings? Would a committee ever have a public hearing?
So these are.
It could.
Go on, Brett.
Yeah, these are optional. So if the board chooses to have a public hearing for a specific matter that's not required by statute, then, excuse me, that would cover that.
That gives you the flexibility if you want to have a public hearing, or a committee wants to have a public hearing that is not statutorily required, but is of enough interest that the committee or the full body decides that a public hearing is in the interest of the body.
So the
board's authority will supersede the committee's authority to decide whether or not there's a public hearing.
So this would, because of the three committees or the committee structure, it would also allow a committee, if they were taking up an item, to have the public hearing at the committee level, so that then that could be part of the report back to the full MPTA as part of the deliberations in whatever the recommendation may be, or on whatever the item is. That is what that is saying.
Would there be any opposition to trying to make that clear, that that's a committee approving a public hearing of a committee, not the public hearing of the full body? It read to me as though the committees had the authority over deciding whether or not we have a public hearing, not the full board.
Brett, will you work with that while we're going through this, please?
So
We'll come back to it.
That was my
Okay.
only concern.
What else you got?
That's it for this.
All right, so
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you all tolerating me. So, I apologize.
Wyatt? Wyatt, yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Wyatt Dixon, City of Charlotte. Thank you, that was great. I had one question related specifically, since we're on Rule 21. I guess my question for this, being not a lawyer, but I seem to deal with lawyers a lot, is request for public hearings on a matter shall be approved by the appropriate board committee?
Yes.
To me means that it will be if it's requested, as opposed to may be approved.
That's exactly right.
And that is just a question on intent, specifically to that.
It's definitely May. The way they just described it is May.
Okay. That would just be one question.
Well, my attorney.
No, I'm not your attorney.
Oh, you're not my attorney.
There are a lot of attorneys in here.
The vice chair, point of clarity.
I think, if I understand the question, it's just permissive but not required. So whoever it is that this committee can and does approve, because that's who does it, but it doesn't require them to approve. They have the authority to, but not required to approve, is the way I read it. Is that?
Well, it's actually, he has the floor.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, sorry, differently. But
I think what he's trying to say is that's right, is that the request shall be approved by the appropriate committee and not any other body. That's the concept, I think we were
Well,
trying to
that, but also if I come and ask for it, someone comes and asks for a public hearing about something random, the word to me, shall, means that I have to,
Yeah.
that the committee has to do it, as opposed to has an option to do it. That's my question.
I think we all agree may makes more sense. Okay, what else you got?
And thank you. And again, just to reiterate, rule number 2, we also talked about the time limit of 48 hours. I do think that no matter what we do, the statute remains in place, right?
That's right.
And so providing more cover for the board, because we're setting things up for not just ourselves, but many years into the future. And so making sure that people have the appropriate time to review things, unless there is such an emergency situation, I think would be a prudent step, in my personal opinion, to agree with you.
You have the floor. Do you want to make a suggestion while you have the floor?
I like your 5 days, I think at a minimum, because it certainly makes a difference in how long we have to be effective as trustees.
What else you got? I'm sorry.
So one thing to think about, again, and these rules of procedures, if you choose 5, 7, or some other amount of days, that is absolutely your preference. The 48 hours also coincides with the minimum notice required for a special meeting. So again, if you utilize a higher threshold, that threshold then carries on to how quickly you can call and hold a special meeting. The special meetings require 48 hours notice, but if the rules of procedure require 5 days, well, you could call the special meeting within 48 hours. You cannot meet your rules of procedure of 5 days agenda. And so
That's a good, so that's not how, and again, that's not how I understood that to be. I thought that just the public notice was a minimum of 48 hours, and that would not change. I think what we're all going for here is that we, as trustees, would get the material ahead of time.
Yes.
More than 48 hours ahead of time, and that's the intent of that. So however that is articulated, I think would be great.
Okay.
Christy, you keeping up with the hands from Peter's?
I got it.
Okay, so, well, yeah, well, you can do a point of order, but I need to go to Corinne next. No, not yet. He's not finished. And I couldn't take the floor from Anthony, but I knew he would be thorough, so I was hoping he answered a lot of y'all's questions.
No, they were great, and I think the, and again.
We can't do 20 minutes here, baby. We
Going
won't get
back
out of here.
to rule number 10, action by the board, I think that whatever vehicle we establish to pass things, I think, number one is this board may evolve over time. It might be prudent to have a percentage as we evolve beyond 27 so that it can flow as, if and when additional municipalities come in. But it seems to me that there are different types of decisions, obviously. If we're deciding what we're going to have for dinner, then that probably has a pretty low threshold. If we're deciding that we're going to allocate $15 million to do something, that probably has a different standard. And so I don't know exactly what those items might be that would require some sort of supermajority, but I do think in our role as fiduciaries to the taxpayer dollars, that would be an appropriate thing to look at as we go into this. And I've got just.
So you don't want to make a suggestion on a number. You want to actually reapproach a voting threshold on everything.
Well, I think there's certain things, you can do thresholds as, in my world, I look at an operating agreement where we have with an equity partner, is the day-to-day operating. I can do a lot of things, but I can't decide to sell a project without, their approval and things like that. And so what I'm trying to do is create a staggered approach where the authority can conduct its business as necessary, and that things that would have potentially greater public scrutiny would be vetted at a higher level.
What else do you have? That,
All
so
right.
noted on that. We
All right,
got you.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'll flip fast. And, Mr. Chair, I emailed you this. This is talking about future. So, rule number 23. I do believe, while obviously the chair has a lot of power.
I don't think I do.
It seems, well, my point is, it seems to me that as we have a nominating committee suggested for various things, that there might be some prudence in having a small group potentially select committee members as opposed to just one individual, and that's just a question. It certainly opens the door, but I at least wanted to bring that up as a point of discussion, and I am finished. Thank you, sir.
Well, just to make a note on that, the only one that comes to mind is CRPTO when we have an interlocal agreement with them. And again, since she's here, I'm gonna look to the mayor. She actually makes those appointments at the city, and the chair does the same thing at the county commission, just so we know.
And what I was referring to is our committee appointments.
I just wanted you to know.
Okay,
That's
thank
where
you.
that came
Yes,
from.
sir. Okay.
That's where that came from. Ms. Mack?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to piggyback a little bit on both what Mr. Dixon said and Mr. Lindsay. They both brought up a lot of things that were on my mind, but I want to go back to rule number 4 first. No, rule number 5, attendance at board meetings, because I think that stronger language is needed there, simply because that would address some of the things that Mr. Lindsay brought up earlier on how we would be operating as a committee. There's an opportunity for us to create policies and rules that will go on for another 30, 40 years. And you always can have an addendum, of course, but I don't want us to have a policy that's too ambiguous, because we will fall into a lot of issues down the line. For instance, there could be language that said no board member could have more than 3 absenteeisms in the course of 1 year, instead of it being this ambiguous. Because we all are aware of the fact that this is a really large undertaking, creating this authority, and each person on this board understands our responsibility. In terms of...
So before we leave that one, I just want to repeat, I mentioned we were going to come back with an attendance policy.
Yes, but I want to
Just
make sure
Okay.
that we're clear about the fact that it has to be strong language around, attendance.
Agreed.
Rule number 21, public hearings. I'm a strong believer that transparency is important. And so...
Which number, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry? 21, I said, public hearings.
Just so I put it on the table, Brent just reminded me, one of the issues that we have, and I'm throwing this grenade in the middle of the room, is that even if we have an attendance policy, we're still unsure if anybody has the power to remove anybody, because you're appointed by different bodies. So, I mean, just know that the best we're gonna do is be able to recommend you be replaced to the body. So, I mean, just know the attendance policy is still not gonna be what everybody thinks it's gonna be, just because of the way we were, I mean, maybe that's a future tweak in Raleigh, but the way it sits right now, you know, we can shame you in public and say you haven't been to meetings, but that's about all we can do. So, yes, ma'am, keep going.
I understand that, but I think all of us in this room, one of the things that came up in our interviews was, do we have the time to sit on this board? Do we have the opportunity, are we going to commit to this opportunity and give it our all? And so we all are aware of the fact that attendance is a big deal. I don't want us to, to look at what Raleigh does, or even city council or county commissioners does in terms of their attendance. This particular board is creating something that's never been done here in Mecklenburg County, and it's something that will last for the next 50 to 100 years. So we need to be very clear about how we write the language, not 10 years from now, but right now.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
back to number 21,
Yes,
public hearings. It's so important that we are transparent, that the community learns to trust the decisions of this board. And so I want to make sure that we go back to what Ms. Lindsay brought up in terms of public hearings and how we go about ensuring who determines who has a public hearing and when. For me, I don't think any committee should be determining a public hearing without the board being aware of first the issues. I heard someone say earlier, a committee can make that determination. But we need to be aware of the concern prior to any public hearing.
No, we're tracking, so what she's suggesting is that it has to be approved by the board prior.
That wasn't said earlier, so I want to make sure
Yes,
that that was clear.
Yes, ma'am.
And One other issue that I wanted to bring up was, I think it was number 10, action of the board. It says otherwise provided for rules 3, 4, 6, and 23. I want to be clear about whether or not this particular board, in fact, supersedes a committee decision. My understanding is that the committee would make recommendations to the board,
At all times,
and, okay, and we would make the final decisions, correct?
at all times. I
Thank you
mean,
very much.
the only note that I'll make is that right now, and it'll come through the financial policies, is that there may be a recommendation that beyond the scope of the CEO, the board, the executive committee may have a threshold that we can approve between meetings if it needs to happen of dollar amount. But outside of that, everything else is a recommendation to this body. And I don't think it was clear on the first run. It's clear in this one, but it's clear that all those things that were on the executive committee moved over to say these are recommendations to the full body, except for that one thing on dollar amount.
Okay,
All right?
thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Who's next?
Peter,
Okay,
and then Ken,
okay.
and then Ned.
Did I see Clayton? Did I see your hand up too, Clayton? I didn't. Okay, go on, Peter.
Oh, no, I didn't have
And David, okay. Will you pull that microphone closer to you?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of points here. On the,
Oh, you got to introduce yourself, say your name,
pardon me,
everybody.
Peter Pappas, City of Charlotte. On the distributing the materials, could we simply just say that for regularly scheduled meetings,
What number?
Number 2, I think.
6?
thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank
Got
you,
it.
Justin.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So could we simply just say for the regularly scheduled meetings, the materials will be distributed 7 days ahead of time? That doesn't preclude having a special meeting. It just says, here's the policy for a regular scheduled meeting. That, because there's a lot of material that we're getting each meeting, and if you're traveling or have some other obligations, you may want a little more time to go through that.
Any chance you would be okay with a suggestion of at least 5? Because it does put a lot on the staff. But if not, if you want to suggest 7, we'll all go around here and make a vote on it.
Like 7,
Me too.
week before.
I think,
Okay.
I
We
yield
got
to,
5.
I yield to the rest of the board, but I think for a regularly scheduled meeting, there ought to be a date that you get the information. A special meeting, to me, has a different set of circumstances, and, you know, that should be excluded from that, because obviously something's come up that requires the board to meet. So that's my suggestion. Put it in the form of the motion if you want, whatever the chair prefers. Then I was a little foggy on, back to this public hearing, because I agree with Reverend Mack. It's very important that we operate with transparency. It's also, though, important that we think about what we're having a public hearing about. So is the procedure that a committee recommends to the full board that we have a public hearing and then the full board votes on it? Is that the written procedure we're proposing?
It's not right now, but that's what she suggested. So
I agree with
at some
Rep-
point, we will come
Okay.
back and talk about the changes we want to make as a body.
Okay.
So right now, we have that on the table.
Okay, those are the two that I had. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Cameron?
Cameron Pruitt, City of Charlotte. I want to thank the chair and the staff for putting very quickly in recommendations that I made, that we have a requirement now to make sure our meetings are live streamed and recorded, and to making some adjustments to the public hearing language. So I want to thank you for the quick turnaround on that. I did want to just reiterate the Rule 5 that, you know, I know that we each come from a different appointing authority that can recall us. And I know, for example, the City of Charlotte sent us a packet, right, of our requirements that we legally have to meet to stay on the board and even to potentially be reappointed. So I just want to make that note. Mr. Cagle, I don't know if you can respond to this or not, but so I know like City Council meets on Monday, they get their packets usually Fridays or Thursdays even. Would it be an onerous burden to extend it that far out? Because a meeting agenda is one thing, but like this entire packet, as you're also preparing for a city meeting and other meetings.
So what? Yeah, so you are correct. The standard operating procedure for the City of Charlotte City Council is generally Thursday afternoons or Friday by noon at the latest for materials. Is it overly onerous? It is, because as all of those things back up, then that means that this board needs to make decisions sooner too, so that we still have the time to produce those materials. Now, if it is I get the intention, and I think it's a good one, but if it is the intent of this board to set it at 7 days, then we will follow that, but it will be onerous, and that may impact our ability to move forward with things if we cannot meet a 7-day deadline.
Thank you, and I just had one more comment, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to reiterate that I support Rule 23 as it's written. I believe for efficiency's sake, for us to get moving, that the chair should be able to make the committee chair appointments. Thank you.
Real quick, since we have Mr. Bryan at the table, what is the minimum for the county commission on getting materials out?
Ask your question again.
Right now for the county commission, what's the minimum amount of days? I know city
For our
council.
packets?
Yeah.
So the packets are scheduled, we meet on Tuesdays, Tuesday evenings, and they go out on Fridays. To Britt's point, the challenge is, it's not necessarily the turnaround, it's preparing the materials so they can go out accordingly. So the risk there is if we set a timeline of 7 days, then the unintended consequence is our agenda may not be as robust, because at some point you got to cut the agenda so staff can shift to prepare the information to meet that 7-day turnaround. So you got the logic, as Britt said, then you got the practicality of actually trying to meet that from a staff perspective, because you got to draw the line at some point. So if it's 7 days, from a staffing perspective, their cutoff may be 12, 13, 14 days, and the agenda may not be fully baked yet to go out. So you got to kind of weigh the pros and cons of that.
I think as an example, kind of thinking about the flow of things and the staff requirements, I believe this board is intending to meet on Tuesdays, Wednesdays. So 7 days would be the Wednesday before for sending it out, which means we will need to start preparing. And so it generally would be 10 or possibly the Friday before, 10 or more, to start preparing that package to meet the 7-day. And that then has a ripple effect on what can be put on the agenda, simply because it can't be produced in that time frame, and the agenda may have to wait an additional month or extra time.
And Brett, to hitch a ride to that, we're set to meet monthly. The commission and council meet at a minimum twice a month.
Correct.
So if we are managing to, from a production standpoint, of a cutoff to 10 to 14 days, then the item that we were hoping to discuss in that given month may have to roll over to the next month as well. Or you're going to have to start making exceptions and not honoring the 7-day turnaround.
He's at the table, it made sense. Julie, Justin, and I both tell you, we got him on Friday afternoons. So we had 3-4 days when we were on council. Who's next? Cameron, did you finish? Who's next, Kristen? Ned, okay.
Ned Curran, Senate appointee. Mr. Chair, I want to again thank you personally and in person for the extraordinary effort that you've undertaken to get these documents prepared, and thank the staff as well, including members of the city staff and the city manager for making members of his legal team available. I have benefited from the 5 people that have preceded me, and hate to admit that everybody's raised something that I didn't necessarily think of. And I appreciate that we're 27 members, and there's a lot of diversity of thought in this group that we all benefit from collective wisdom. In the wisdom of the managers that crafted the PAVE Act and the legislature that embraced it, in section 6.4, they said that the governing documents of this body needs to be completed by July 1st, and they enumerated all the other things that we needed to do by July 1st, 1 year after the date of enactment. They did not say the governing documents had to be done first. They said needed to be done. And I think they were trying to allow us to be thoughtful about these pretty important documents. And I'm speaking beyond just rules now, speaking to all the governing documents. And I think I appreciate that the chair has worked very hard to hear different people's concerns or questions, but I don't think we've collectively as a group been able to hear each other's concerns. And I know we've got some retreats coming up, and we're 35, 40 minutes just on rules. I'd respectfully like to make a motion, seek a second, that we defer action to a future meeting to allow for reasonable deliberation on each of the governing documents, to include information and advice from external subject matter experts, and to allow for board members to benefit from expressing their concerns, and we get the benefit of collective wisdom. So I'd seek a second to that motion.
Mr. Chair, this is T. Anthony Lindsay from Huntersville. I second.
I'll speak to it just before we take comments, and it needs to be a substitute or amended. What does it need to be, Brad?
It doesn't need to be anything.
Because we're in the middle of discussion on
That would have
action.
been an alternate motion.
Yes, we do have it.
An alternate motion, that's a new one for me.
Yeah, so we have the motion is pending right now to discuss the rules of procedure, right? That had a second. And so that discussion is pending right now. If you now have a second for that motion, and you would need to vote to take the second motion forward. Otherwise, we're still discussing the motion on the table, which is the rules of procedure.
So there's been an alternate motion.
So there's been an alternate motion, Pat. My comments on that one real quick is, this is what we signed up to do. I mean, and I would hope, because Anthony was so thorough, that there will become less and less as we go around the table, and we'll figure out a cadence on how to do this on these documents. I mean, actually, punting on it just means we got to have this conversation again. So, I mean, that's where I sit on that one. But I thank you for that. So, comments on now we're talking about this motion. Right. So, I think he wants.
You would need to vote on the alternate.
In order to go forward on the alternate motion, you would need to vote.
We don't need conversation on it?
No, discussion and then vote.
So I got a first and a second, so now I'm saying we're moving to discussion on his motion.
That's right. It's a substitute motion.
And I'm gonna defer, well, we have a request to read the motion again, and then we'll go to discussion.
So there's some unreadiness?
But we're not getting ready to vote.
No, we're not getting ready to vote. So Katrina Young, City of Charlotte. It is my understanding you can't have two main motions at the same time. So we have a motion, it was seconded, we were in the midst of discussion. So you can't have a second motion. You can amend the motion, or we can vote up or down the motion that's on the
So that's why I went to the attorney, and he introduced the term I never heard of, which is an alternative motion. I never heard of that, so
It's part of the, but.
I mean, to me, it should have been a substitute motion. But, wait a minute, y'all. We're gonna get this right, but we're gonna let the lawyers tell us.
Yeah, so the motion that's on the floor at this time is the motion, the original motion on the rules of procedure. And so if you want to do a new motion on the motion that was made to defer, then you will need to vote on that.
Vote on the second.
Point of order.
Vote to discuss the second motion, is what I'm saying.
Mr. Chair, under Robert's rules, this is a motion to table the agenda item, and that is not a debatable motion, in my understanding.
No, so we're gonna go with what he said. So what he told me, because we gotta go with what the lawyer told me, he said is an alternate motion. So we're talking about the alternate motion. So let's do that real quick and see if we can get to a vote real quick. So who wants to talk to the alternate motion? Christie, who's?
He gets to talk first, doesn't he?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
Who's next?
Oh, who has to go?
She's keeping the hands. I'm not keeping the hands.
Mr. Pappas.
Oh, well, then it's Peter.
Mr. Pappas.
Sorry, Peter Pappas, City of Charlotte. I would just make this general comment. I mean, we're having a lot of good discussion about some of these points. Mr. Bryant's explanation and background is helpful. But I do think several people, as we started this meeting and at the first meeting, said, this is important work. And there 80, 100 pages of documents here. And as Mr. Kern points out, we have till June the 1st. So it doesn't seem to me that it's that urgent that we approve it tonight. It's more important we get each of these different documents correct. So my only point is, I think we're getting a lot of good input. Why not take the time to get it right? We've got the time. We don't have other business in front of us right now. Maybe to some, these procedural issues aren't that important. To me, I want to have enough time to read the documents. Maybe 3 or 4 days is more in keeping with the other, processes the city and county go through, but it's more than 2. So, we ought to try to maybe work on some of this a bit more is my suggestion, and follow Mr. Kern's motion and take enough time to get them right, because there's a lot to all these documents.
So, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thanks. The other thing I'd point out also is that as we go through, we're adding complexity because people are putting in new comments. And so I would hope, as I sit here and watch this, there may be some merit to saying, well, let's get all of that, we get the comments and give people a chance to review them and then come back.
That's where I was going. I mean, I've been chair of the planning commission, chair of the city council committee, and the way I always approach stuff was get it all out on the table. If you're going to defer and know what you're deferring on. What I don't want to do is leave here and then come back and not know what we're deferring. So, I mean, I'd like to get the issues all out on the table. And I think we're almost done on this one. And we'll make our decision on these other documents as we go. But we're almost done on this one if we can respect the process. So, but no, I'm speaking to the motion. So who else is next?
So on this one?
Yes.
Peter wants to speak again.
Peter Pappas, City of Charlotte. I'm not sure, we're bringing up the issues, but I'm not sure what we're changing. So before you move to adopt it, I think you got to go back through all the changes. And I don't know that we've heard all the input. That's more of a question to the whole board. So I'll stop there.
David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David Longo. I represent City of Charlotte, too, I guess. That's where I live. That's why I'm doing this.
Don't sound like you're sure.
Okay. I would, first of all, I'd like to enter into exhibit the letter or note that I sent to the officers when I had time to review the bylaws. And so first of all, thank you for the significant effort that has gone into preparing these information in the draft reviews, et cetera, in the staff. I have concerns that there will be a number of questions. And this is not something that I think that we should rush. I think to your point, we should continue to discuss this evening, gather all the information, be able to redistribute it out to everyone, and to have further dialogue. There is no reason to rush this, and particularly when we get to the bylaw part of it, because I echo a lot of the questions, D'Anthony, that you brought up. I mean, and some of those were mine, so you check some of them off, but I have some others. But I got to tell you, when I get into the bylaws, I have a whole bunch more questions. And so I think we want to continue to dialogue about all these issues, document as much, have the opportunity to come forward. In an alternate might be, as my recommendation to you, Chairman, and the officers was potentially to move this forward in a body this large. It's always good to work in a committee fashion. So potentially we approve an ad hoc committee that consists of the officers and perhaps 5 others of the board who are interested and can work on this in between and do a lot of the work going forward, take feedback, and then come back to us. And then thus leveraging committee structure. I understand under Robert's rules, we are perfectly positioned to be able to do that. So that would be, I would support the motion to not approve these today, but to keep the discussion going and then put together, and I would recommend an ad hoc committee to move this forward and bring back to the full body, but soliciting all the feedback from the full body.
So if we can do a couple more comments and maybe vote on this alternate motion so we can move on one way or the other. So we have Ms. Mack over here in the corner.
And Wyatt there.
Yeah, well, she's had her hand up over there. Yes. And then we got Alicia over here. Yes, ma'am.
For the sake of the discussion on the motion on the floor, I think it's important that we,
Operational parameters and maintenance and those kinds of things of the system and the vehicles. And so you may have been referring to both, but I would want to clarify that.
Yes, I am referring to security then, from your
Security.
perspective. So if it's something that we should consider as a separate committee or a group that specifically addresses that across the board for operations, our planning, and future plans. So, thank you.
Ms. Isel is next, I think, Christie. Ms. Isel.
Just want to point to
Need a
Lucia's,
microphone, please.
excuse me, Julie Isel, Mecklenburg County. To make a point, in that specific item, number 2, the word security is in there with reference to monitor the performance indicators for safety, security. So I'm not sure what else security would refer to. Maybe if you can give us some clarification on that.
So I was just trying to clarify that for most of the world, for most of us, when we refer to safety or security, they almost become interchangeable terms. And in this instance, when you see safety and security, they are not interchangeable terms.
Yeah.
There are safety regulations and rules and a team of folks and cats who monitor safety, and that is referencing sort of operational parameters and maintenance of the system and the equipment. And then there is a security group, and they are managing security, really referring to what I think was being referenced there, the security of passengers and operators and those users of the system. And I just wanted to clarify that, but that is sort of, it is not something that is readily apparent to, just to a reader who is looking at it that way, because many times safety and security are almost used interchangeably. In this instance, they are not.
But for the sake of this body, it could. One of the things that I have friends from my days in Washington and other parts of the country, and one of the things they caution, I told you I started out with a bunch of committees, is that we should be cautious how we grow committees. And the thing that I want us to remember is that we can have subcommittees and we can have ad hoc committees. So that could be a subcommittee of the operations committee. I just want to be careful about growing committees a lot. So I kind of got pushed back, and that's why, is that there are places like San Jose who have a million committees and subcommittees, and that's all staff does is man committees. So that's where I came from, but we can keep anything else, and then we go around the table. Well, redirect real quick.
No, I understand the statement, and I understand the issue of too many committees, but I think as we prioritize what we're supposed to respond to, I think the community is our first priority and our main client, customer, however you want to call it. So if that's one thing that is important, we need to make sure that we address it directly and not just as a side note in all our bylaws and how we are going to operate in the future. And like Reverend Mack mentioned earlier, we're creating something that is new. And yes, there are other authorities out there, but we're trying to create the Charlotte Authority, the Mecklenburg Authority. So need to be very specific. How do we do that? And thank you for giving me the time.
Wait.
No, I just want to take the time to address her comment real quick. Transit rider, ride every day. Operations, security is part of operations. If anything, this should become the Operations, Security, and Safety Committee, and then use that as an ad hoc committee from there. Because everything that we have to do, operations-wise, we have to think about the security of the rider themselves. So I think that shouldn't be a separate committee, just because that needs to be interwoven into everything we do anyway. And I think that's a better statement to the community.
Let me help the staff. The staff, when we first started conversations, when I got voted chair, it was called the Operational Performance, Security, and Safety Committee. And it was just this long name. So it was kind of me to say, can we shorten that, security and safety? I mean, that was me saying that. We can add security back in the name. I mean, but it was operational performance, no, security, safety, and operational performance.
That's a hell of an acronym.
Exactly. I was the one that said, come on, y'all, that's very, very, very long. So, I mean, we can add security back. I don't care, but you want another committee. So what were you saying?
Oh, I'm just saying, like, I think
And a couple more,
it's
y'all.
more powerful to keep those things together as an operational tool.
Okay. Who else? We got Reverend Mack over here. Then we can vote and keep going.
Reverend Corinne Mack, City of Charlotte. So I actually operated trains, and I actually created a safety procedure in the New York City Transit Authority. Safety, in terms of operation, is not very different from safety for the community. But we need to separate the two. How you create a safety policy for the employees would be different from how you would create a safety policy to ensure that we don't have a tragic situation and we're in the news for the next 6 or 7 weeks. But that one committee, that ad hoc committee, could do both. It's not separate and apart.
All right, any other comments on bylaws?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Nick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the spirit of you wanting some comments, and then I will offer the similar motion, I'll give you just some broad comments that I had from a review of the bylaws.
This makes sense. So you go on.
Yeah. Generally speaking, the idea of extending board member officers until June of 2028, I understand we're trying to mirror a fiscal year, but at least me, my appointment is for 2 years. And so, to me, it would, why wouldn't the officer positions be at the end of a calendar year? So just, I'm not asking to action, I'm just pointing out something.
You want me to talk to it?
No, it's okay. I have had the privilege of chairing lots of organizations. I still chair some large organizations. In each of those, I have never had, as the chair, the authority to appoint people to committees or to appoint the committee chairs. I have always had the courtesy of recommending my nominees for those positions, but then the board opines on those. And in this case, this organization oversees billions of dollars. Absolutely no disrespect to a gentleman I've known for almost 20 years. This is intended to be relate to chairs now and in the future. That any of those appointments should be subject to review and approval by the full board. Same thing with ad hoc committees. The executive committee, to me, has perhaps some of the items under the executive committee, to me, are better addressed in committees rather than in the executive committee. For example, or by the full board. For example, it says that the executive committee would set fares. To your point, I think the full board should have the burden of setting fares. And then as something that I think all of us can understand, the operations of this organization, transit agency, is broad. Things will happen. We are likely to be named in lawsuits and things like that. There is a provision in here about indemnification. I'm appreciative of the attorneys that drafted this document. I do not know. I'm sitting next to an attorney. My late wife was an attorney. I love attorneys. They are subject matter experts. I want to hear from an attorney who does indemnification language around lawsuits to ensure that we are protected when those instances come in. Similar to my prior motion, for those reasons and more.
No, he has the floor.
I'm going to make a motion to defer action to a future meeting to allow for reasonable deliberation on the bylaws, to include information and advice from external subject matter experts, and to allow for board members to benefit from the questions and concerns raised by other board members. And I seek a second.
Lucia Zapata Griffith, I second that motion.
Been properly moved and second. Discussion? Yes, Julie. Yes, Jocelyn, and then Anthony.
Julie Iselt, Mecklenburg County. Is it not clear that we are indemnified in this language?
So, several members brought that up, and there was a part in the language we got from the Go Triangle that said something about a personal insurance policy, but we've cleared that up. If you look in what's in this book, the whole thing's been struck to correct it. So who's going to talk to that for me over here? Brad?
Yeah, I think, and specifically, and I asked this in our first meeting, this is really important because there is a major lawsuit out there. And does this pull us all into being parties to that? You know, I think that particular issue is really important to clarify.
The last part is something we need to do through transition. But let's talk to just the question you have about indemnification in the bylaws.
Yes, sure, thank you. Yes, so the board members are actually, they are indemnified, and the language was rewritten to make sure that there was a provision in there that talked about if a board member had an umbrella policy or a personal policy, that could be invoked. And that was struck because obviously if a board member was taking action in their official capacity as a board member, then they should be fully indemnified for that, assuming that action is legal or, not a criminal or other aspect of these rules. And so that provision was struck. The other thing I would note
Before you do
too-
that, make sure you tell them who helped you with that. We talked to the risk manager for the city.
That's true, yes, we did consult other attorneys within the city attorney's office on that matter. I would also add too, that as a public official, North Carolina has public official immunity. And so we also have governmental immunity. So there are several layers of defenses available to all the board members if there is a lawsuit that names a board member. So just for that information.
Ms. Joslin's next.
Hi. Again, I don't want to, Jocelyn Nolly, City of Charlotte. I don't want to sound like a broken record, and I missed this with the past motion. Going forward, I'd like to see these motions amended with a time frame. It's too loose for me.
Okay. Any comment on that? Okay. Yes, Anthony. Did you have a question? She had a question.
Yeah, do we need to?
Yeah, pass it around.
Do you want to make an amendment to his motion?
If I can,
At the time?
Please, yes.
You can make an amendment to his
Well,
motion. She can amend
we have a
substitute.
motion on the floor.
We have a motion on the floor. It's in discussion.
So discussion on this is, I'm sorry. Can you repeat it? Well, let her, she has the floor. Can you repeat it real quick?
So I would like to see Mr. Curran's motion amended to include a time frame in which we come to a decision to adopt the bylaws.
You can accept.
Well, I'm having something passed around. I didn't know if I was going to pull the trigger on asking for a committee because I wanted to see how this went. But what you see is a committee structure and a charge that I came up with that you're welcome to bring into this conversation as a motion if you want to. So I just wanted to let you know I came prepared if we want to defer to a committee.
Okay.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yeah, man, I forgot what I was going to ask now. My question was really for clarification on your motion, Ned. It sounded like your motion includes us having a deliberative discussion as a full body in one of the upcoming workshops. Is that your intent?
I think that would be an efficient manner. I'm open to anything. I just know that that's on our calendar, and it's a unique opportunity
Okay.
for that.
And the other question I have for you was, if you had mentioned earlier about receiving comments, do we have some method by which we as board members can submit comments on these items so that they can be collected and assembled and distributed to the full body? Do we have a mechanism for that in place?
One of the reasons why I didn't support the last motion, Mr. Kern and everybody else, is because of that very reason. I think all we're doing is kicking the can down the road. If we don't get it all out today, we'll have to get it all out then. And it's still gonna be a long meeting. So, I mean, I've kind of bought into this idea of a committee. So, I mean, maybe we refer it to a committee, but who's next, Miss Lucille, did you, Lucille? No, Todd had his name. Todd.
Todd wouldn't be next, though. It would be Frank and then Todd. I thought you had your hand raised.
So as I listen to, this is Frank Emery, City of Charlotte. As I hear the conversation, we seem to be talking about how long it will take versus today. And I don't think that's the right question. The question in my mind is, do we have the right people looking at the language, pressure testing it to ensure that it does for us what it's supposed to do? Well, I guess I'm speaking for myself, but, by signing up for this committee, I expose the assets of my family. That matters to me. Now, so when people say, well, I think the indemnification says this and the other, I'm saying, no, that's not good enough for me. I need somebody who works for us to say, I stand behind this, and that their insurance is on that opinion, so if they didn't write, I get to go, if their opinion isn't correct, I get to go after them, to be really clear. The lawyer in me is telling you that's how that works. Okay, so to me, that's what I'm looking for. And so when I hear this conversation, I feel, well, point one. Point two is, I don't know that the time we're concerned about or describing as wasted. I think what we're really seeing is two things. One, the people around this table are extraordinarily interested in this, and they've done their homework, which is fantastic. And people have read it. I think the thing that's missing is the ability then to consider the comments, you know, in a regularized fashion, so that people can then understand the impact of what everybody is saying. We're doing this. I don't mean this in a mean way, but kind of on the fly. And this, in my mind, is way too important for that. So I like the notion of, we raise it, we get some people, step two is, we have some folks focus on it, ask the professional questions that need to be asked, and then bring that report back to us so that we can, A, understand it, and B, pressure test that part. So that's my view of that. So I'm not making a motion, I'm speaking to the one that's on the table. Thank you.
Todd is next.
Todd.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I sent an email on Monday regarding implications and recusals, and I had a number of questions between the Code of Ethics and the operating procedures that seem to contradict to a degree. You and your team provided a response email today which clarified a number of those questions, and I think out of that email there were going to be a few revisions to the documents being made. In my opinion, that would be a productive approach toward resolving some of these questions. Allow all individuals on this board to submit their questions, and some of the questions really need council review. Allow that council to review, send response, and then the question may disappear. If there are additional questions, clearly we can bring it up to the broader board. The second part of that is, if documents are being amended based on some of the questions raised, it would be appropriate to document the revisions and the reason for the revisions. And look, I believe in getting things done quickly, but I think one of the challenges we have here now, it's my understanding that the documents we're looking at are actually dated. And so we should actually get the most recent versions of documents for discussion so that we can have the most productive discussion.
Just a real quick, and we'll go over here. All I was saying is, instead of cutting off conversation, we get the issues out on the table in front of everybody. Because what staff is doing is trying to interpret everybody's stuff. I've been sitting with Elizabeth, and this has been grueling. Because all of y'all are asking the same question in the same way, but a different way. And that's why I was hoping we'd have just punting on it is already a pre-gone conclusion. We're not going to have 21 votes. I didn't know if we had 14 votes on the other document, so I didn't want to call it on that. That's why I didn't pass it out to now. I wanted to see if we had 14, we should have moved that on. I didn't want to stop that conversation. What I'd like to see is us stop debating about debate and actually talk about the documents a little bit, so that if we do a committee, they have some thoughts about what we all feel. But we can do that. Part of what Mr. Longo said is if we do a committee, send them everything everybody's ever said, and all I can tell you is if we could have a little conversation so that when you do send your notes, you take some stuff off the table, that would be helpful to staff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm telling you. I mean, poor Elizabeth and Brad, y'all, they have chased every change of a letter that y'all put in a note. And that's not fair to them. I was trying to have conversation there. That's what I wanted, just some,
So
and still punt.
Fully appreciate, the efforts have been extraordinary.
Yeah.
And we really are, I think, all very genuinely appreciative. But we haven't, I get this forum, but we just need to be able to collect everybody's thoughts. And so whether it's the officers or whether if you'd like to have others, it's.
No, if somebody wanted to make a substitute motion for what I sent, somebody could, but let's keep going. Who else had their hand up? Peter.
And then Wyatt.
Peter Pappas, City of Charlotte. So let me just ask Mr. Emery a question. Are you suggesting that we retain outside counsel now on these bylaw issues and code of ethics issues?
The answer is yes. I don't know that we can, however, because we're at our level of organization, but that would be the ideal, is to have someone working for us to look at this and give us the answers. I mean, that's no denigration of the city folks at all, but it's just that, everybody sits in the seat they sit in.
They agree, actually. They actually agree. They can actually help us with the formative stuff, like this, what we'll talk later. And just so you know, I hadn't talked in my report, but I asked Mr. Emery to actually help us figure out the council thing.
Yeah.
Because there's no money now. We need help to get to the next step. We need to now get a MOU with somebody so we can actually use their on-call contracts to get somebody to help us. And then, so I mean, there's a process. Nobody doesn't want, I want to get general counsel. But I mean, we don't have a process to do it until we get some things voted.
Well,
And
to
then-
that point, maybe we ought to let our treasurer come back with something that gets us some temporary funding to do that and take Mr. Emery's suggestion, because I think he makes a really good suggestion about this indemnification. Just from my perspective, it's a big issue, and I think we'd all be better served by taking the time to do that. But I hear what you're saying. We got to have some way to pay that individual. So, I think kind of the point of all this is, we got some really capable people here. Let's utilize them in different committees to go ahead and strategically move this along. And that certainly doesn't stop tonight getting other comments on the table. But I think you've got to have some way to move it along. And I think the suggestion about a timeline is a good one. It seems to me we've got 3 retreats coming up that once we get past that, we ought to be able to vote on all these documents. I mean, that gives us 3 other opportunities to work on some of this, and then, our target ought to be to approve it after that. So that's my suggestion, Mr. Chairman.
The retreats are not for this, though. The retreats is to get us level set on planning all of it's to get us, we kind of got reasons for calling them. And if we do this, that's why I came back and said, a committee may make sense. And by the way, if we don't do it until the last retreat, we don't have committees. We still kind of function like this until then. Just remember that.
Well, with
And
all due respect, though.
Yes, sir.
The point is,
Yes, sir.
we got to address what Mr. Emery said. So we can address it right now, but that's a big deal.
I'll cut to the chase on insurance. We're going to get insurance, and I'm going to tell you about that. We already have insurance, actually. So that's Wyatt. Yes, sir.
And I realize we're kind of Wyatt Nixon, City of Charlotte. I realize we're kind of all over the place here. So on the insurance piece, I think that's great. I would say relative to the committee piece and the variations of this, just like trading around any type of legal document where you have a starting point and you have red lines against that, which people review and things like that, is it the chair's intent that basically when these committees would work together, we have a starting point, this document's in front of us, whatever is sent back out to the larger group to review and discuss is marked up against what we have now, so that we're able to track from one to the next, all the way through to fruition, I guess is the question.
We actually do have a red line document. We didn't do it right here, but we had it, so. See, that's what that is. That's what that is. It is red line, so just so you know.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, and then we need to settle down, y'all, and figure out something, please, so we can,
Julie's next.
okay, well, the CEO, and then,
so as a comment to Mr. Dixon, but also probably to the general comments being made this evening, and again, as your interim CEO, I also do feel an obligation to talk about staff and how we could accommodate this. Certainly, if it is the intention of this body to deliberate further on this, we can distribute this as the baseline. We would then offer a request to receive all comments that can then be tracked and redistributed, and documented from whom and each comment in that to the entire body for further deliberation. I think that is what you're referring to, Mr. Dixon, and agreed, we can certainly do that with time and with a process that we understand to do that to assist this board.
And I would just, I just finished up. I would just add that I think the transparency that creates, I think, is a good thing for us to go through. So it fully walks through. There was a lot of behind the scenes work that went into getting what we started here with. And now that it's become, a public document, I think it's a great following step. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to go back to Trustee Collins' point, if we move forward with what our interim CEO is saying, can we also do it in a manner that the responses to the questions are provided in advance so whomever submitted the questions can respond by saying either they're fine with the answer or not in advance of the actual meeting to try to manage the time? Because what I understand Trustee Collins say is he had a lot of questions, staff responded today, and his questions were resolved, for the most part, in advance. So if we go that route, is it possible to do that with respect to the workload on staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I would support that as well.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I think
I was hearing them. Yes, Julie?
So it really just follows what y'all just said. We have to have a sort of portal to be able to do that with all those responses visible to everyone on the board. And I would say, it's just assume that you would have that information before the next meeting. In this case, that's going to be tough because the retreat's coming up sooner than a month from now, right? Do I have that right? I've lost track of days, but in particular, back to the indemnification question, like, for instance, this interlocal agreement, it's an operating agreement, but it doesn't say anything about insurance or legal representation. We're a body with no assets at the moment. So if we get sued, what are they going after? And who's to say that the city of Charlotte is behind us or Mecklenburg County is behind us? So we have some really critical things that have to be answered, and everybody has to be able to see the responses to that. So, but I think that can be done in a timely way, so that everybody sees it and that we're not, because I certainly appreciate how tough it is on staff. It always reminded me of the duck floating on water. Staff was the one underwater paddling away, and people don't really appreciate how much work that is. So by making it visible to everybody, hopefully that will cut down on some of the questions and some of the workload. But it has to be knowing that there's a time frame by which we would get those responses.
So we are actually kind of off the motion, which is just to defer. So if we can get back to the motion. Huh? Yes. Discussion on, I'm trying to get back to the motion because we did get a second. Well, Anthony has his hand up.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chair, this is Anthony Lindsay. So I was going to call the question if there's no further unreadiness.
With your indulgence, Bob Menzel, Town of Cornelius, this has really been an amazing evening. I really appreciate what the chairman and the staff have tried to do here. I think what they were trying to do, accomplish, was to kind of get us down the road a little ways. I don't think, and I don't want to speak for the chairman or the staff, but I don't think anybody thought any of these documents were in granite and that there wouldn't need to be improvements to the documents once we got into it. I told the chairman that I was prepared to support all three of them. But I do think there's been some good discussion here, and I'm persuaded that we need to do a little bit more work before we go after it. And I, like my colleague across, I like getting things done quickly. And frankly, for what we're trying to do here is we're trying to be a board that's trying to do committee work, and that's never a particularly efficient way to go about the business of even a brand-new organization. So my sense is that we need to proceed, and I would support the motion that's on the floor for both this as well as the upcoming item, again, with a time frame, and again, with my other colleagues' expression of the importance of it all being transparent, but that we get a group of individuals, as the chairman has offered on the bylaws, a group of individuals. We've got to all trust each other here. And a group of individuals for each one of these that can then come back, they can receive comments, they can come back with a report to the board before we sit here and have some additional dialogue, and then ultimately, when we come back, we'll be prepared to sit there and act on this. It's been very instructive for me tonight. I thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
I think it's Justin.
Justin Harlow, Mecklenburg County. Yeah, I've been sitting here kind of listening. We are a little bit everywhere right now. But I guess I would have said I probably would have anticipated a little bit of this, 27 opinions and thoughts. I see where you're trying to go, Mr. Kern, and you're recognizing that, hey, these heavy lifts, we just got these documents, some hours ago relatively in the grand scheme. I appreciate all the comments and concerns around, small questions, small changes. We've got some dates baked in here for retreats. And so when I think about retreats and strategy sessions, this is where I think some of this should be. I like the concept of an ad hoc committee, as well. I like that the pass around document here that actually, to Ms. Nolly's point, gives some deadlines as well, and says, hey, we've got, a month before the first retreat date. This has a sunset date on it. Few of us have been voluntold on it already, I see. But nonetheless, I think if we're trying to find a middle here, and I don't know this process, so please help me, Brad, if you could, or Mr. Chair, or anyone for that matter. What does it look like to move this motion that's currently on the table? That's really just deferring the action, but then with a little more meat to it, saying, okay, well, that deferred action is moved to the retreat February 6th date. That way we're coming in there, we've got a month to submit what we need to submit, get answers that we need answered, and we can walk in the door on the 6th with a much better idea than where we are right now. If that means the committee, this ad hoc committee, can get created, meet once or twice, take all those things, bring suggestions to the retreat. I'm spitballing a little bit here, but I'm trying to move us a little bit down the field, because otherwise I feel like we're in a loop a little bit.
Again, I'm sorry I threw this at you guys tonight, Dave. I thought it was a good idea. I didn't know where this discussion was going to go, and I didn't want to cut it off by putting this on the table first. But I wanted to see where it went. But I wanted to be prepared to move us forward with something tonight other than, and I don't think what I'm suggesting goes against what Ned said. That's why I waited, because it's actually saying defer. We're just going to do this while we defer it. So, it's kind of just getting us a step in the middle of it. So, Jeffrey.
Jeff Robbins, Town of Pineville. I would agree with Justin. First of all, kudos to everybody that's put in the time and energy to do this. I think it's a very heavy lift. The only revision or build to Justin's comment was the sunset date may not align with the decisions, right?
You can adjust it.
Right. So I think that if the committee can be established and we can provide our inputs in a timely fashion, and I think
that's what I want.
Ms. Nolly's point, we need to be more intentional about establishing dates and timelines, and that would be my only comment.
So I've been given a suggestion on how to maybe move us forward. Why don't we vote on the defer, because the committee does not bother that, and then we can take up the committee too. So if everybody's ready for a question on the, I'm sorry, Ken, you got anything before you do that?
I was largely in agreement. I do think this should come back to a board meeting and not the retreat. My understanding was the retreat had its own very distinct purposes to get into the larger strategy and planning. So I put it, and I just note the schedule of board meetings in the materials has the retreat on the 5th, and this says it's the 6th. So that's just, we have to.
I'm sorry. We can correct that in a motion.
And the other thing is that the February 11th meeting isn't on the regular meeting calendar. Right. So, just technical corrections. But I think this should come back to the meeting and not to the retreat.
So we need to do a roll call real quick. So Madam Clerk, are you ready? All right.
What is that? David, can you clarify the motion?
It is to do the same thing we did on the last one. Except bylaws instead of rules and procedures. All right. So Mr. Bowman, you're going to be next. You good?
I'm waiting to be called.
All right. All right. You got something on it before we move forward?
Substitute motion that we do it for both the
Yeah, we can-
bylaws and the code of ethics, and then we can get back to talking about the comments on both of those.
As long as, can we, Brad, because it's a special meeting, if we move the code of ethics and this with this one motion, can we still talk about the code of ethics?
Yes, they're on the agenda, and it's appropriate
Yeah.
to still discuss.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because they told me we had to do this stuff in the order, so.
Might save us a vote.
All right. So you did a substitute motion to make sure we're doing both at one time. So. We're gonna still,
David Longo, second.
yeah, wait a minute, wait. I think all he needs to do is make the change to the motion.
Okay.
And then the seconder can do it, and I still have Cameron that wants to talk about it, so real quick.
So as I understand it, you're asking me to accept an amendment to my motion so that it reads, defer action to a future meeting to allow for reasonable deliberation on the bylaws and code of ethics, to include information and advice from external subject matter experts, and to allow for board members to benefit from the questions and concerns raised by the board members.
Who seconded?
I did.
You accept that amendment?
I accept it, just like you read it. No
right.
dates, no deadlines.
All right, so Cameron, real quick, and then we'll vote on it. What you got, my friend?
Cameron Pruitt, City of Charlotte. I know the city, as you saw in the interlocal agreement, has passed some recommendations to move forward funding for this body. I find it troubling that we would have a not fully strong code of ethics the time we receive funds. So I'm yes for extending the bylaws, but I believe we need a stronger code of ethics before we accept any funds from another body. Thank you.
I'm fine with that, too. Yeah.
We are not in receipt of funds. The city is pushing $4.3 million, proposing inside their accounts. So we do not have the systems, we do not have a bank account. So we're still falling under all of their rules and procedures.
We can kind of, you put in the rules that before we actually open a bank account, we get that done.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think the treasurer wants that one, so. All right, roll call.
Charles Bowman,
Yes.
And then we take a break.
Mike Bryant.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry, give me 1 second, I'm sorry. Todd Collins,
Ms. Coons, could I stop for 1 minute? Just point of clarification, all three of these are in this motion?
No, we already did one. It's only two.
Not the code of ethics?
We're just picking up the other
No,
two
code of
now.
ethics is in this one.
Same effect.
bylaws and code of ethics.
Bylaws and code of ethics?
Yes,
Same effect.
yes. So let's keep going.
Todd Collins,
Yes.
Ned Curran,
Yes.
Wyatt Dixon,
Yes.
sorry. Julie Iso,
Yes.
Frank Emery,
Yes.
Lucia Zapata Griffith,
Yes.
Justin Harlow,
Yes.
David Howard,
Yes.
T. Anthony Lindsay,
Yes.
Christy Long,
Yes.
David Longo,
Yes.
Reverend Corinne Mack,
Yes.
Bob Menzel,
Yes.
Jocelyn Jones-Noley,
Yes.
Peter Pappas,
Yes.
Cameron Pruitt,
Yes.
Jeffrey Robbins,
Yes.
Kenneth Shore,
Yes.
Clayton Seeley,
Yes.
Brad Simmons,
Yes.
Alicia Davis Stedman,
Yes.
Dana Stujenki,
Yes.
Bishop Dwayne Walker,
Yes.
and Katrina Jones-Young. I'm sorry?
Yes.
Thank you. That was unanimous.
Thank you. Anybody want to do another motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move approval of the meeting calendar.
Can we take,
I would ask for one amendment. Mr. Shore is correct. Inadvertently, February 11th was left off.
oh, we need to make sure February the 11th is part of that motion. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right.
The February date is.
Wait a minute, before that, I guess I'm saying, anybody want to take up the committee? I need a vote on the ad hoc committee. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we need a vote on that.
I make a motion that we accept
And amending the date in this one as well to the, make it the end of February, so we're not rushing. Is that okay with everybody?
Voting on the ad hoc.
February the 28th?
Oh, yeah, sure, sure.
with the final decision of the committee?
Yes,
February 28th?
well, the sunset of the committee will be.
February 28th?
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion that we accept the recommendation from the chair to create the bylaws ad hoc committee which would sunset on February 28th of 2026.
Anybody want me to read this, or y'all read it? Y'all want to go home, right? All right.
David Longo, second.
Wait a minute, did I get a second?
David Longo, second.
David Longo, second. Yes, Mr. Bowman.
So this is just the bylaws? Do you intend-
No, I'm sorry. The correction, it is all three documents, Code of Ethics, Meeting
Okay.
Procedures, if that's okay, Ms. Mack.
Yes, so I want to change my amend my motion to state all three committees.
All three documents.
All three
Governing documents.
documents posed to us tonight would be
Rules and procedures, bylaws, and. Code of
sunset
Ethics.
on February 28th.
Yes. Second?
David Longo, second.
I bet y'all don't want to talk about that. All right, you ready to do a roll call?
I have a question.
Oh, we do have one. Yes, sir.
As early as February 5th. The last sentence,
We changed the date.
To the end of February the 28th.
but it can be considered by the board as early as
Oh,
February
yes.
5th. Although I think it should
Yes.
go to the meeting and not the retreat. The retreat's on the 5th.
I was talking
So
about
that
the
would
retreat,
allow us-
just in case it was quick.
It might take
But
us
we'll
into
make that
the
decision
March
based on the
meeting.
committee. That was clear as mud, y'all. I'm sorry. Are we ready? All right. Roll call.
Charles Bowman,
Yes.
Mike Bryant,
Yes.
Todd Collins,
Yes.
Ned Curran,
Yes.
Wyatt Dixon,
Yes.
Julie Iselt. Yes. Frank Emery,
Yes.
Lucia Zapata Griffith,
Yes.
Justin Harlow,
Yes.
David Howard,
Yes.
T. Anthony Lindsay,
Yes.
Christy Long,
Yes.
David Longo,
Yes.
Reverend Corinne Mack,
Yes.
Bob Menzel,
Yes.
Jocelyn Jones-Noley,
Yes.
Peter Pappas,
Yes.
Cameron Pruitt,
Yes.
Jeffrey Robbins,
Yes.
Kenneth Shore,
Yes.
Clayton Seeley,
Yes.
Brad Simmons,
Yes.
Alicia Davis Stedman,
Yes.
Dana Stujenki,
Yes.
Bishop Dwayne Walker,
Yes.
and Katrina Jones-Young.
Yes.
It is unanimous.
I thank the people that I volunteered for saying yes. Just so you guys know, we probably won't meet until the 21st because we got some travel with the committee, just so you know. So I'll be in contact with that, okay?
Okay.
All right, so next up is, yes, ma'am, before we move on to ratings?
Go ahead.
So why don't we finish the calendar and then make sure if you have comments that you want to share with committee members about the bylaws, well, there may be just a few minutes on both. If they're big issues, I mean, we had big buckets, so I just want to make sure the committee knows some of the big stuff, all right? So Julie, no, Anthony wants to make a motion.
What are we moved on to the calendar now?
Yes, we
on the
have, sir.
agenda?
Yes.
So I was moving that we approve the calendar, but it sounds like there's unreadiness because we've got two different versions.
Yeah.
There, we would request an amendment to the, approval of the calendar with an amendment to include a meeting, regularly scheduled meeting date on February 11th, 2026.
Which would be our next regular meeting.
So this is T. Anthony Lindsay from Huntersville. I move approval of the meeting schedule to include a regularly scheduled meeting on February 11th, 2026.
Second?
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Simmons. All right, roll call, unless there's
Some
discussion.
unreadiness.
There are some, yes, sir.
But you go ahead.
I was just, Bob Menzel, Town of Cornelius. I think there was a change you were suggesting on these workshops. Is that part of this motion?
No, no change on the workshops. That was on that was on my document. I had the wrong date on the,
So the workshops remain
Right,
as
they're the
published?
same.
Thank you.
yeah, they're the same. Any other clarifications,
Kind of
Mr.
going
Bright?
where Mr. Shore was, the workshops primarily are going to focus on strategy and planning, and then also what duration? Clearly, I see to be determined here. But are we thinking half a day, full day, or
No, it's
the agenda?
No, the staff is thinking, well, what's the staff? Isn't it all day?
These say all day.
It's all day. It's all day.
It says all day. That's what
It's all day and more strategic, focused.
For as long as we need.
You didn't want to do it tonight, so no. Not tonight. But yeah, so I mean, the real key to that one is I'm asking for some flexibility as chair to say if the bylaws committee is ready to present something, that maybe we try to talk about it on the 6th if we can, but if not, we won't.
Well, the reason I'm asking that, and that's to go back to the earlier comment, to what extent are we going to try to work through those questions on the bylaws in advance, so we're not exhausting the majority of our workshop time on that important topic, but how much can we do outside of that meeting so that we can utilize the workshops for its original intent, which is strategy and planning?
We'll just plan to bring it on the 11th. Let's not make that hard. We'll just bring it on the 11th.
Okay.
All right. I put that in there as the earliest date we could do it, but we don't have to do that.
Quick, just.
Was Julie had her
Sorry,
hand
Julie.
first.
Oh, no, quick question. For the, I guess it would apply to any of these earlier dates, but in particular for the workshops, since these are dates that are coming up, and I know, for instance, I won't be able to be at the March 6th one. Will we be able to watch these virtually with participation? I know we can't vote, but are we able to participate in some way as board members?
So we will make all efforts to set up the proper technology to allow participation. At a minimum, they will be live streamed. These will be public meetings. These are publicly noticed meetings, and they will be live streamed. We will work with our technology team to accommodate participation as well.
Okay, even if you designate a phone number to text into, whatever, that we could have, be asked to give comments.
Yes, we'll
Great,
figure
thank
that
you.
out. Jocelyn? And after we do this, we've had a request to take 5 minutes, just real quick. So, Jocelyn?
I'll refrain from my comment. It's fine.
All right, motion on the floor. We're going to do roll call again because these are the top 4 things for us. Yes, Clayton?
Just real quick, and I'm assuming they will be, so I will be driving for 6.5 hours that day, on February 5th, so I'm gonna try to listen in, but will we be able to watch it like any city thing after the fact? Not just live stream?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
All right. Roll call? Yeah, Mr. Harlow.
I'm hearing February 5th, I'm hearing February 6th. I just want to be sure for this first workshop, it's the 5th. All right.
1, 2, 3,
Got
4,
it.
5.
Thank you.
All right. Roll call.
On the calendar, with February 11th added, Charles Bowman,
Yes.
Mike Bryan.
Yes.
Ned Curran,
Yes.
Todd Collins,
Yes.
Wyatt Dixon,
Yes.
Julie Eisel,
Yes.
Frank Emery,
Yes.
Gisa Alfonso Griffith,
Yes.
Justin Harlow,
Yes.
David Howard,
Yes. Let's take a break.
T. Anthony Lindsay,
That should be easy.
Yes.
We don't need to roll call.
Christy Long,
Yes.
David Longo,
Yes.
Reverend Fern Mack,
Yes.
Bob Menzel,
Yes.
Jocelyn Jones Noli,
Yes.
Peter Pappas,
Yes.
Peter Pruitt,
Yes.
Jeffrey Robbins,
Yes.
Kenneth Shore,
Yes.
Clayton Seeley,
Yes.
Brad Simmons,
Yes.
Alicia Davis Desmond,
Yes.
Dana Stujanki,
Yes.
Bishop Wayne Walker,
Yes.
and Katrina Jones Young.
Yes.
That is unanimous, Chair Caput.
Thank you. All right, let's take a break for 5 minutes. Be back in at 8:11, and I will gavel at 8:11. All right?
So your TNPA, you can. Yeah, it's your call. It's not a recommendation.
Let's go. I want to go home in a decent hour. I didn't know what was.
She will.
What happened? I don't mind talking about
That's
that.
what we pay for. Did you get just, no, you can always get that.
Who am I missing?
Only about half.
Oh, no, I'm with you. I want to stand too.
Do we have a quorum?
Somebody go out in the hall and tell people to come on in. Okay. Yeah, Catherine's on.
Some dessert still out there, I keep looking at that.
Let's finish so we can go home.
I'm trying to be a good girl and it's so good.
You just nibbling at it?
Transit system plan.
Come on. In fact, I'm gonna let you answer. Yeah. We actually have enough to get started again, so why don't we go? All right, so next up on the agenda is, I don't know actually.
Item 3E.
So, one of the requirements for authorities or state bodies is to have a budget and a finance officer. Because we have no staff, because they work for the city, we actually need to do something with that. So legally, if we need it, we'll have one. And we talked to the treasurer about doing it, and he's gonna make the motion, because he's the one who's gotta be responsible for it. So what you got, Ned?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a legal designation, these terms of art, board, a finance officer or budget officer. Typically, they are not filled by board members. They're filled by members of staff. As the chair said, we don't have staff. So if duty calls, I can serve in that capacity, but there are surety requirements, bond costs to do that. And so if we don't have to do it, the preference is not to engage in all that. So with that as background, I'd like to offer a motion that the board acknowledges and approves that the board treasurer may serve as the budget or finance officer from time to time as needed.
Motion made by
second
Mr. Kern, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Emery. From Charlotte. We're not going to do a roll call. So any questions on the motion? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That was unanimous. All right, so the next item, number 4, was to actually get a 20 to 30-minute overview of the transit system. And considering how much we've done tonight, we could punt that to the retreat, because that's what that's for. Mr. Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like maybe go back for a minute and just get a point. First of all, I think that's a good idea. Secondly, since I had the floor, I thought I'd say, but secondly, could we maybe go get a clarification on this thing about funding? Because
We're going to talk about it.
Are we going to go to that
Yes,
next?
sir.
Okay, thank you.
That's part of my report.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we don't have to vote on not hearing a presentation. If everybody's nodding their head, that we can wait. All right, next up is, sorry about that, next time. All right, Mr. CEO.
Yes, members of the board, I will keep this very brief. For my executive report this evening, I have 4 items to make you aware of or remind you of. The first is the FTA administrator, Mr. Mark Molinaro, will be visiting Charlotte on January 16th. That is next week. He will be engaging with staff, and there are several elements to his visit. One is a ride on the Blue Line, and a second is a roundtable with staff, some members of the business community, as well as Administrator Molinaro. If you'd like additional information on that, we would be happy to send that out. Please just let myself or Ms. Prezzuti know, and we can provide you additional details. The second item is, you may or may not be aware, myself as the interim CEO of CATS, as well as other local officials and elected officials in the Charlotte area, have been invited to testify before the North Carolina General Assembly House Oversight Committee in a special hearing. That committee meeting was previously scheduled for January 22nd. It has been rescheduled to January 29th, the morning of January 29th in Raleigh. Again, if you'd like additional details on that, please reach out directly to myself or Ms. Prizzuti, and we're happy to provide you that information. Third item is there have been inquiries regarding emails for this body specific to the MPTA. We are working on that as we set up the technology infrastructure for separate from the City of Charlotte and specific to the MPTA. We are working with our technology group, and I am told that that will take approximately 2 to 3 months. I'm going to be optimistic and say 2. You will have emails shortly in approximately 2 months. The last thing is just an information item. The CATS has been working through what we call a FAIR study. That FAIR study has been an ongoing effort for about the last 12 months. We have presented the results and recommendations of that FAIR study to the MTC. The FAIR study is not, don't think about it in terms of what we charge for fares. It's how we collect fares. It's how we structure tickets, one ride, all day pass. You know, it's how we collect fares. Some elements are in what we charge, but the focus on it has been improving, creating a simpler fare structure and improving technology around how we collect fares. A good example of that is tap-to-pay technology. Many of you may have used transit in other cities where you don't buy a ticket, you tap to pay. Again, those are all common technologies, and that is what the FAIR study has been looking at over the last year. We have made recommendations to the MTC. To implement those recommendations, there is a legal requirement for public engagement, and we will be conducting public engagement beginning later this month to gather input from the public and to understand their thoughts and feelings about the different recommendations in the FAIR study. As we gather that information, clearly we will be able to bring that back to this board. And again, at the chair and the board's desire, we are happy to provide background information on the study and the recommendations to this board. As I said, it was previously provided to the MTC. That is the conclusion of my report.
Any questions of Brent before we move on? Yes, Alicia, and, well, Kelly, Kristen. Yeah, we'll just go first. Yeah, Alicia. Yes.
Alicia Stedman, Mecklenburg County. Can we receive additional information about the engagement strategy for that public outreach?
Yes.
Thank you.
That was my question as well, and if there are ways that we can share with folks on how to engage.
Yes, we will do that with the entire body as we're preparing for it.
Mr. Bryant?
Thank you for your report, Ms. Cagle. It's my understanding that our agenda packets are not posted on the MPTA website. Is that possible moving forward to have those posted for transparency purposes?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the chair report, and then we can go home. All right, so first thing I want to do is thank you for letting me guide you through all of that a while ago. That was interesting. I do want to let you know that while we haven't met a lot, and we will get that cadence right going forward, the officers, hopefully we'll have an executive committee sometime in the near future. But one of the things we kind of all talked about and I wanted to share is, of course, as treasurer, the treasurer's taking the lead on making sure that we are fiscally sound. And in future meetings, maybe part of what we do is kind of hear where we are on bank accounts, financial policies, and all those things that allow us to start spending money sometime in the future. But I wanted you guys to know he's taking the lead on that. I met with the vice chair not too long ago, and one of the things I asked of him, and we said it earlier, was to take the lead to figure out where we need to go in this general counsel conversation. because it is convoluted a little bit until we get money and we have procurement rules. So he's going to take the lead on that and work with staff to figure that out. And then I asked Madam Secretary Christie to actually focus in on what will be our first big move in a transfer, and that would be the HR part of this, the staff. She has a extreme amount of background in governance and how that stuff works. So she's going to take the lead on working with staff on that. And I just wanted to let you know what we're doing as officers to make sure that we're moving this thing, moving this forward. Other thing I want to let you know is that I've had at least 1 or 2 meetings with the city manager and some conversations about this transfer. And I want to make sure we all use that language. This is a transfer.
Got your steps in?
She got her steps in. All right. Congratulations.
You might need a bus or a train.
So back, I just wanted to publicly say thank you to the city manager and his team, Liz Bazin, as well as, remember, he still works for the city, so all of the city staff from CATS, they have been extremely helpful. Yeah, please. And I wanted to thank him publicly. So one of the things that you have in front of you is actually what they're doing to try to help us get going. You got a copy of the interlocal agreement committee report that they gave to Transportation and Budget, I believe. So they gave it to 2 committees last week. And I'm going to read exactly what's going on with that so you know. So I'm going to just read this if that's okay for the record. On Monday, City Council will be presented with an action item to adopt a resolution which will allow the city manager to negotiate and execute an interlocal agreement with MPTA. City Council's approval on Monday will not be the final interlocal agreement. In fact, there will be a series of them, and potentially one with the county too, a few with the county, but rather the opportunity to negotiate and execute an agreement. The City of Charlotte has committed to providing an initial draft of the interlocal agreement to us the week of January the 12th, pending the City Council approval. Once we receive the draft, we will make sure we circulate to the full MPTA board the draft of the interlocal agreement. I got off. Once we circulate to the trustees and establish a timeline for the board member review and comment. Ultimately, my goal will be to have this interlocal agreement completed by our next MPTA board meeting in early February. This interlocal agreement will be the first of many agreements between MPTA and the city. The purpose of this initial interlocal agreement will be for the City of Charlotte to support MPTA in accomplishing specific tasks that are required by the PAVE Act to be completed by July 1, 2026. Some of those tasks include establishing board governance policies, developing financial and operation policies, creating human resource and information technology plans, and creating an asset acquisition timeline and plan. The board appropriation action on Monday will be, along with the resolution to negotiate and execute the interlocal agreement, the City of Charlotte will also consider the action to appropriate $4.3 million to support the eligible administrative startup costs through July 1st, 2026. This funding will be used for legal services, accounting and auditing, meeting administrative expenses, required studies and regulatory fees, director and officers, public officials insurance, to the question earlier, consultants and advisory services, and other reasonable and necessary administrative expenses. This $4.3 million is going to stay in the City of Charlotte and will not transfer to the MPA until we have a bank account. The city staff, at the direction of the MPTA, will perform administrative work to enter into contracts, pay invoices, etc., since the MPA does not currently have the appropriate organizational infrastructure to complete all the required tasks in compliance with state law. And that is to allow the MPA trustees to focus on policy. This will allow the trustees to focus on policy development rather than administrative functions. It will also mean MPTA will not need to appoint a financial officer yet, which carries legal liability and requires a surety bonds insurance. The financial officer is required by state law to enter into contracts, so the city managing this fund on behalf means that the city CFO satisfies state law. Okay, one more paragraph, y'all. The 4.3 million is existing fund balance from existing Article 43 sales tax revenue, which is the hazard sales tax? Correct. Okay. Which must be used for expenses related to public transit systems as permitted by the state of North Carolina. As a reminder, the 1% local sales and use tax approved by the voters on November the 4th is not yet levied and therefore is not being used for expenses. Any unused funds will be returned to CAT's fund balance, so we will use it all. I'm joking. The utilization of funds will not be needed to repay by the MPA since the funding is from CAT's and will ultimately transfer to the MPA at some point in the future. And in talking to at least one of you guys, we felt like maybe we should do something to say that we support what the city council is doing to send a message. So I'm gonna recognize Mr. Lindsay.
Mr. Chair, T. Anthony Lindsay from Huntersville. I'd like to make a motion that the MPTA board endorse pursuing a collaborative agreement with the city of Charlotte to provide administrative startup support for the MPTA and to authorize the MPTA's officers to engage in discussions with the city about the terms of a proposed agreement for further review and approval by the Board of Trustees no later than our next regular MPTA board meeting.
Which is,
Second.
Mr. Chairman. It's been moved by, it's moved by Anthony and seconded by Peter, is what I heard. Peter from the city. Any discussion on that other than just a very big thank you to the city for getting us going?
Call the question.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposed. If you oppose, you have to leave. All right, everybody, thank you. So what's next?
Adjourn.
No, any remarks? Anybody want to, anything to share before we leave? Yes, sir.
Just one quick thing. I know that tonight seemed like it might be a little bit long and a little bit interesting as we're coming together, but I think that this is just a great example. I appreciated hearing all the feedback from everyone. T. Anthony, I was glad that you were able to outdo me on comments. So, this is part of what it takes to bring a group of diverse individuals together to do work for our community. So I so much appreciate all of you, and chair and officers and staff really greatly appreciate all the effort and your patience with us, and I think we ended up with a good place.
You guys are going to get out of here early. We're leaving before 8:30, so if all hearts and minds are clear, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's probably moved to second by anybody?
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All right, goodbye.